You are listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene on Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia. Wole, Ray, and Mo are your hosts. Joining us as a guest is Sports Journey's Washington football team reporter, Lake Lewis Jr. What's good, Lake?
What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing in there today? Big day, right?
Yeah, big day. Very big day. Very big day. The news, historic day, right? Historic
absolutely,
day.
Absolutely. We needed this one.
I know who said justice was blind, right? Who said justice was blind?
Just to start, been missing it. Justice been missing in action, but the day was served, so I'll take it.
I know.
So we won the day, but we still got many more battles to fight, you know.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Hopefully absolutely.
All right, let's sing, fellas. Let's sing. Let's sing. Go ahead, Lake. Kick it off, man. The storm is passing over. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do. We start singing, brother.
Wait, come on. Did you just say? Come on. Did you just say singing though?
That's what we do, man. All of us grew up in church, man. In some form of fashion, man.
Yeah, look, man. Me and Mo. All right, wait. Time out. Me and Mo, we was in an African church. That's a whole different type of church. We was in church for hours, like hours.
Hey man, when I used to go see my grandmother in the South, I was in church for hours too.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's called African Methodist Episcopal. It's African. That's the first word. You get it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody comes from the same roots, brother. Don't even worry about it. My bad though, man. It is a big day though. I'm glad the outcome is what it is. I'm just conferring with y'all, man. Agreeing with you.
Damn, Rachel.
For us to be able to we're not making light out of this by any means, but the fact that we can feel just relief, like you can exhale for once, because how many times have we seen the turnout for these things be something that was obviously wrong? So in this time, it just feels good. And I think for young people out there, young African American people, it should be inspiring for them to know that maybe they can actually grow up and see the system work finally for them, as opposed to how many times it worked against us wrongfully. So, hopefully this is a good start to something. This isn't the end of it by any means, but hopefully it's the start of something.
I agree. Change gonna come, Ray. You gonna sing this? You gonna start off, Ray? Change gonna come. You gonna?
I might hit the comment. I can rap. Common is a light skinned brother, so I might hit the glory. One of y'all got to hit the John Legend part. I got the rapping part. I can do that. I can spit a bar or two.
That might be Wole right there.
Look, man. My voice is jacked up, man. I have no voice, man. That thing's terrible, bro.
One day, go ahead.
One day. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, they looking like Tony McGee over there, man. What's going on?
I was about
brother?
to say that joker got the Isaac Hayes, look like the Isaac Hayes going on over there.
Hey, I'm telling you, man. Look, man. It's the caveman joint, man. So what we doing right now? We going caveman.
Listen, I cut this off 3 weeks ago was my birthday, and I shaved it off. I was barefaced. And I mean, I grow it right back, but I was like, I will never do that again. I was like the invisible man to myself, literally. Like, I was waking up and I was getting my brush and I was like, I don't have nothing here. It's like, nah, I can't do that. I got to get back. So, yeah.
I got a bet with my mom about cutting this because she hates it. She calls this the Bin Laden. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, dang, that's how we going?
Your mom carried you.
She carried me, bro. I was like, all right, if you can get to this goal, then I'll cut this thing. I'll cut it. You know what I'm saying? But
hey, man, listen, it's nothing like a nice thick beard, but you gotta keep it groomed though. You gotta keep it.
I'm not grooming this thing. I'm just letting it go. It's the COVID thing.
Oh no, you gotta keep it groomed, man.
Let this thing go.
I might be with moms on that
one. Oh man.
Yeah,
we gotta get this thing going,
man.
Good time. Oh my God, man. Okay. Hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Search All Burgundy, go Errrything with the Urban Sports Team. Also tweet us at Urban Sports Team. Hit us up on our Urban Sports Team Facebook page. All right, here's what we have on tap. We'll talk about Alex Smith and Jordan Reed retiring and the Washington football team releasing running back Bryce Love. But let's get right to it. Yesterday, it was reported that Alex Smith is retiring. What would you say is Alex Smith's legacy in Washington?
Just he brought professionalism to the unit. They they had Kirk Cousins before him. Kirk Cousins, I think 3 straight years threw for 4,000 yards, but I'm not necessarily, and this isn't knocking Kirk Cousins, but I don't think anybody that I knew in that locker room would run through a wall for Kirk Cousins, So I know with Alex Smith, though, it was totally different. And as soon as he got here, guys felt his presence and they felt his leadership qualities and they played for him. That's why he was 11-5 as a starter here in Washington, 5-1 this past season as a shell of his former self coming back from that injury. You can't underestimate what leadership does for people and how it galvanizes a team. Young team with a leader, they end up going to the playoffs, winning their division. That's his legacy. He won while he was here.
Go ahead,
I'll build on that. I'll build on that. I concur. The 11-5 record is the second highest winning percentage of all time behind Joe Schroeder, right? In franchise history. So when you think about Alex Smith, you always going to think back to the good start that he had with the team before the injury, because they were 6-4 going into that week 11 before he got hurt in that fateful November day, and the stability that he brought to that group. Right, that group was different than this group, and he brought them stability, and it just continued when he finally got his chance. I don't think any of us saw that coming. Right, we didn't see him coming into that game against the Rams, and him coming in there and Aaron, within the first 10 minutes of real-time action, Aaron Donald's on your back and your leg doesn't snap. I was like, you know what? This is gonna be a story to tell. And then he goes on a 5-1 run from there, and the team makes it into the playoffs. And even though he didn't start that playoff game, he was a catalyst, right? Because you can say that without him, they wouldn't have won, because in the games that he didn't play, the outcome was different. Even though we know that the defense led the charge, right? Him being behind center was a calming presence, and like you said, he galvanized the troops and he brought the people there. So you said professionalism. I'm going to add winning to that. I'm going to give Ray the next adjective.
Well, I want to make 2 points. One is about Alex Smith. Obviously, I mentioned this on the other show, and sorry if I keep saying that tonight, guys.
You always say it, bro.
I'm hyped. Listen, that's what I do. Just like sustained success, I need to go ahead and cash in on that. But Alex Smith was the #1 overall pick out of Utah. I think that he began his legacy at that point in terms of just the national stage. And the career that he built, that he even acknowledged, this is not what I was supposed to become, considering where I went to high school, where I went to college, and the coach I played for. It's just amazing how far he came. So to me, his legacy was already cemented prior to the comeback story, which showed just amazing perseverance. And as you all indicated, motivated this football team. But what's interesting is a lot of the discussion, at least here in the DMV, has been what has been Alex's impact on this franchise. And that's so important because of the negative culture that has been created. And it's so sad because we were just talking about how this franchise was so historic. I mean, it is a historic franchise. When you think of certain universities, I mentioned Florida State football. Even if Florida State has a down season, you still know it's Florida State. Washington football, to me, was that for the longest time. And we're so far removed from that. And it's sad that a guy like Alex Smith is now in a discussion about how he changed his franchise, but he did. And in my eyes, I know the defense was strong, but he saved the season last year.
100%. And if Alex Smith had a couple more starts under his belt, who's to say how far, maybe the Buccaneers didn't have a trophy. I'm just saying, when he started, they performed. And, even the Detroit game, the loss that he had, that game was theirs to win. And they didn't play well at all, but they still were in the game to the very end. Detroit won on a field goal. So, I agree with you, Ray. I mean, Alex Smith, from the time he stepped foot on the field for Washington in that uniform, they were a different group. They were more competitive. They were more professional. And you knew you had to strap up because they were going to bring it to you.
So, like, do you see Alex Smith one day working with this organization?
I mean, he could possibly. I mean, he's probably gonna have multiple offers. I mean, you just some people are just born leaders. You know, it's not something that you can teach. You know, they just you either have that special gift or you don't, and he has it. You know, so yeah, if that's something that he wants to do, I do know he loves the game of football. You know, and I know deep down he still feels like he can play the game, but you know, reality is different from what you know, sometimes your mind and heart don't match up, you know.
No.
So I'm glad that he went out on his terms. I'm glad, you know, he got a chance to taste that competitiveness again as far as being under center. What he did was truly remarkable, and I think Washington fans should be indebted to him for pretty much getting this thing back to how it was when we were younger, growing up, when this was a you know, one of the mainstay franchises in the league that everybody, you know, was looking to see what was going to happen in DC every year. So now, hopefully, it gets back to that, where it's what's going to happen in DC on the field, and not what's going to happen in DC, you know, as far as the headlines.
Definitely. You're listening to All Burgundy and Gold Errrything with the Urban Sports Team right now. We're rapping with Sports Journey's Washington football team reporter, Lake Lewis Jr. Mo.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a question for our cool guest?
So we talked about news, right? Today's been a news-filled day. The last couple of days. I noticed that Jordan Reed, I had a nickname for him that was not the most pleasant because of the time, and in a Washington uniform that I'll share later. But we saw that Jordan Reed retired. He closed the chapter of his career, and I was wondering, what do you think Jordan Reed could have been had it not been for all of the injuries and concussions, right? Because we know there's a multitude of injuries, but the concussions overtake most of it. What do we think he would have been? Because that third year in the league, when he exploded on the scene, was very, very special in a time before we saw tight end numbers balloon to what they are now.
It's a great question. I mean, Jordan's my dude. You know, he's one of the guys that was kind of, I think, misunderstood too. You know, as a player, as a person, because you know he was hot in the locker room. You know, if you knew him, though, it was Jordan. But to a lot of people that didn't know Jordan, you know, you didn't really know what you were getting from Jordan Reed as far as, you know, quotes or anything. But on the field, man, listen, this will be my 10th year covering this team. I don't know of maybe 2 or 3, 4, maybe other players that were as talented, or if not more talented than him. This guy was special, and had he not had the injuries, the concussions, but just had a normal, healthy career, we're talking about a guy that had Hall of Fame talent, and I mean that. I'm not blowing smoke. The stuff that he could do on the field was special. Nobody could cover him. His hands were incredible. He could catch everything near him. And let's face it, he played in a time with this team where there was just so much turmoil, so many coaching changes, and just not having the quarterback that he needed consistently. All the great tight ends out there, the one thing about them is that they had that quarterback with them most of their career. Gronkowski, look at him and Tom Brady. You know, that's just what goes hand in hand. Great tight end play. You got a quarterback that's looking for you. He never really had those things. And, you know, obviously the injuries derailed his career. So another player that steps out on his own terms, and you can't fault a man for doing that. But yeah, you know, a solid pro career that was always, you know, cut short season wise because of the injuries and the concussions of those things, but a solid career nevertheless.
Right.
I'm not as special as Lake Lewis. So I don't get the on the field media pass at the game. So when I got to see Jordan Reed close up and practice for the first time, I think he is one of the few. This is just me covering sports. He's one of the few that I saw that could move that way at that size. Like, I don't think that people realize who watch him on TV how big he is. Like,
he's a big dude.
He can move. I mean, it's amazing. He's so talented. And then Lake, you mentioned him in the locker room, and what stands out, and I might be biased on this one, I'm not a Washington football team fan, but I am a Jordan Reed fan. And I remember, Wole, you interviewed him. You may not remember. You don't remember everything. But you asked him a question about who can guard him and who can't. And he gave a PC answer. But then he took you aside after the interview when nothing was recorded. He said, can't nobody guard me, bro. And I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. You know, and
I do. Okay, I remember that. I remember
you have to appreciate that, you know, from a media perspective, because when you cover sports, you know, there's some guys, I mean, the world of sports and professional sports is very superficial, you know what I'm saying? And it's rare that you get a genuine dude. You know, it's a handful of them. He's one of them, for me at least, covering this football team, that you knew he was cool and would take you to the side and just rap to you, you know, as a person, you know, no longer player to media or reporter. And I love that about him. And it's very sad. To be real, I'm concerned about his long-term health more than I am about anything related to football. Although, you know, at that level, I feel like there's going to be opportunities. But, you know, real talk, I told you I'm not a, quote, prayers up dude, but he is going to be in my thoughts and prayers, because we see what has happened. We heard about an incident recently in South Carolina with a former football player. We don't know yet, but, I mean, that's the reasonable assumption. So you're hoping that he has, you know, a good health or outlook moving forward, if I'm saying that right, trying to figure that out. And I'm hoping that he'll be able to coach up younger tight ends, because I think that he'll be able to offer a lot of insight. Considering his playing career is kind of short, I think his body overall will be preserved, and he'll be able to offer a lot to the game moving forward at as low as the Pee Wee level or high school, college, whatever he wants to do.
No, that's a great point, right? Absolutely. I mean, the fact that, you know, the head injuries take its toll on people after a while, and you know, hopefully that's something that the league, you know, really backs up what they say they're going to do for these guys after their playing careers, because we see that far too often. Guys have, you know, CT and they have problems with it afterwards. So, and it's just ironic because, you know, speaking of Jordan, you know, and Washington's tight ends, you know, another friend of mine, Niles Paul, you know, a guy that, you know, his career was pretty much cut short too, because he had his fair share of concussions as well. I mean, and we're talking about two guys that had basketball backgrounds, guys that, you know, they weren't the 6'7" tight ends, you know, they were like the 6'3", 6'4" guys, but yet they moved so well, you know, but, you know, when you're in the trenches, man, and you're having to block 300 pounders all the time. And in Jordan's situation, you know, I think the last one that did him as far as here, you know, was against Atlanta in the preseason, and that was a dirty hit right to the head. Absolutely. But see, those are the things that people have to remember, you know. And you know, Washington just brought in this you know, Samus Reyes, you know, to see what he can do, and he's a big dude, big man, hooped as well. So you know, those guys have different foot movements, you know. Ways to get in and out of things, like they're cutting or boxing guys out for the ball. So you know, that's kind of like the trend right now for tight ends in the league. But it's another thing when you got to go over the middle to catch the ball and somebody's coming at you. So we'll see how he handles that as well.
And I think that's where I wanted to go with we're talking about the talent of Jordan Reed. Like, I thought he was immensely talented. He was a former quarterback. You know, he played the position at Florida. We know how widespread Florida's offense was back then in that era of football, like way ahead of its time, really, because Urban Meyer is one of the people that believes that he coached to win college football games. He didn't coach to get you prepared for the NFL. He said that about Tebow when Tebow came out, right? So he coached in college to get the most out of your talent. And you had Jordan Reed here. He's at 6'2", 6'3". He was like 230. He was practically a bigger wide receiver, right? And we talk about the commonality between the three people we just talked about. We talked about him, Niles Paul from Nebraska, came out as a big body wide receiver, and they thought they could move him inline. And you have to realize that if you don't build those calluses in the trenches, because in the league it's man on man, hat on hat,
every
more
play.
times than not. More times than not. Like, no matter what you can do in the open field, it's not going to sustain. And we know that if Jordan had one weakness, it was probably his blocking. But I just feel like he didn't have enough rocks in his back pocket. You know, I didn't think that he couldn't block. I felt like he was a willing blocker, but it just didn't work out in his favor, because what he was great at, and with his size at 6'2", 6'3", 235, 240 at the time, was down the field. the vertical game, his in and out of his breaks, being a former wide receiver. I used to admire that about him. And that's what really brought him that acclaim that he got that third year in the league when he went over 900 yards in the era where 1,000 yards for a tight end at that time was really, really staunch.
It was rare.
That was like big time. Yeah, that was big time. If you was even close to 1,000 yards, it was big time. Now we got Kelsey going for 1,500 and Kittle going for 1,400 and guys like that. But I believe that 900 back in 2015 was the equivalent to 1,200, 1,300 that these guys are putting up now, right? And
without question.
Yeah, you talk about a super, super talented guy that his body just failed him eventually because of we talk about it all the time. Football is a grown man's game. Not he wasn't a grown man, but like you have to have it behind you also in order to sustain. And you talked about all the shortcomings of the organization between the quarterbacks and the play calling and just the unfortunate situations that he got into. And, that's why we talk about football players all the time is not for long, right? But if you think about him, when I think about him, I think of an elite talent. And I have a saying, because I'm a high school football coach. So like for me, I feel like there's talented guys, then there's good guys, right? I feel like you're really good when your talent and your production match all across the board, right? When I think of Jordan Reed, I think of a super talented guy that just could not achieve his greatest potential because of some shortcomings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there was a time when at the height of his time here, whenever I mentioned the top tight ends, it was him, it was Kelsey, Gronk, of course, at the time. Yeah, so he was there. I mean, his name would come up, and people would always preface Jordan though by saying, if Jordan Reed could have a full season, if Jordan Reed could be healthy, he could be the guy. But it just never happened. It never happened. Yeah,
no, definitely. No, that was the thing about Jordan. It's just injuries. He was just such a great talent, but just injuries. But to another injury-prone player, fan favorite Bryce Love was released. He could never bounce back from that knee injury he had in Stanford come out of college. How did this regime feel about Bryce Love to keep him here? 'Cause I thought he could have been cut last year, to be honest with you. They kept him in it. They kept him on the squad. And if he was ever healthy, could he have ever competed with, say, Gibson for the starting job?
Well, I mean, listen. Yeah, he was something in college, man. I mean, this guy had people, and I'm serious about this. He had people forgetting about how good Christian McCaffrey was at Stanford. That's how good he was. He had people saying he was like a poor man's Christian McCaffrey, and then it was like, nah, this guy's like Bryce Love, his own guy. And then in the last game of that season, he tore his knee up, and he never fully recovered from it. And one thing about Bryce Love is that he's a good kid. He's a stand-up kid. He's a Ron Rivera type player. A guy that you're not gonna have to worry about when he leaves the facility. And he would have fit the culture here perfectly. But this team right now, man, they're not waiting. They're in win now mode, and they really feel like with some of the guys that have emerged. Let's face it, J.D. McKissick had a really good year last year. So I think they're comfortable with him and Gibson being their 1-2, and Peyton Barber's still in the fray right now. And who's to say? And I'm gonna say this on your show. Well, I'm gonna say this on your show tonight. Do not be surprised, and I'm gonna say it. Do not be surprised if a running back from Alabama ends up here.
See, I thought about that.
And he's really good. Najee Harris.
I thought about that.
Listen, you guys cannot possibly tell me that Najee Harris, who can catch the ball out the backfield as well, and he's a bruiser. Him and Gibson would be wow. So I'm just throwing that out there.
No, I thought about that. It's funny you mentioned that because I thought about
Lake
that.
took it there.
Yeah, I know. I want actually, he did. He took it there. I do want to say something about that because you did take it there. So I thought about that because I've always stated this. No, I've stated this about Gibson. To be fair. Like at the end of the day, you're still asking, and we talked about Jordan Reed from wide receiver to tight end and how that changes, how that plays with your body and whatnot. Like you got a wide receiver playing running back, which he's still trying to learn how to be. Yeah. He's still trying to learn to be an elite like running back. He's learning. You got to do it to Bama, who's already there. Like he knows the position. He is a running back through and through. You know what I mean? He's physical. I mean, he can catch the ball in the backfield. You saw what he did last season in the playoffs. He's just that type of talent. And I feel like at 19, yeah, I would definitely consider. They felt like getting him.
No, they don't need. They could get him in the second. He's not going in the first round. 19? Okay. They could get him in the second round. They could get him maybe the third round. Maybe.
Late. Stop it. Now, listen. Late. All right. Now I'm gonna get
Najee Harris is going to be the early second round draft pick.
Najee Harris.
I like Etienne better more though. That's okay.
Najee Harris is a poor man's Todd Gurley. He just doesn't have the long speed. He just doesn't have the long speed. I think he's
great. Yeah, I agree. Like, he's phenomenal.
And if anything fails, if all else fails, he's not going past Pittsburgh. You can book it. It's no way
Pittsburgh needs a running back bad.
He is a Pittsburgh running back. He is built like one, and especially the way they pass the ball. 235 moving like that. Hurdling.
They do like one of y'all Maryland brethren, though. I mean, they do like what is it? From Maryland, who's there? McFarland. They like McFarland.
They do like McFarland.
He don't what we said about Jordan Reed. He don't have enough rocks in his back pocket, man. Not for that kind of run game. I know Anthony. I know Anthony personally. I know him personally from high school and coaching against him and whatnot. He's a third down back. Give him 100.
He's a dual threat guy.
Yeah,
he's a dual threat.
You start giving him 200 some odd carries, it's gonna be over for him in no time. So
they want to get Etienne. I'd be good with that too. I mean, I'm cool. I'm cool. Like I take him in a second over.
Now see, Etienne reminds me. Etienne to me is kind of like a Listen, see you guys. So we might be on the same page where I was going. I see Jamal Charles, but I see Etienne like as far as somebody you can compare him to today. He's kind of to me like a Alvin Kamara type. He's a guy that you can get him out in some open space. He's got speed, but he's got power too.
Yeah, whatever.
I think he got lost in the Trevor Lawrence sauce down there at Clemson, where people don't realize that was the key to Clemson. Literally, it was more so than Trevor. So again, this team to me could use another back. I mean, I mean that guy type back. And this isn't knocking Antonio Gibson because, like you said, he's still learning, but I don't want somebody that's going to learn. I want somebody that's coming in and adding to this where they're going to share some touches.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like to take it back to the Bryce Love point, I was kind of sad to see him get released. I had high hopes for him. When I lived in California back in 2015, I went to the Pac-12 championship game and saw him when he was Christian McCaffrey's primary backup. And then when he went off that year, when he came out, I saw Clinton Portis in Denver written all over him.
Before he put the weight on. Before he put the weight on.
He put the weight on. I saw Clinton Portis in Denver because zone blocking scheme in the league, right? Because we know it wasn't too many power I teams. Like Stanford has this. People think that they were too small. Him and Christian McCaffrey when they were at Stanford, they run power football. They run between the tackles.
Huge line too.
Huge line. But like when you get to the league, all lines are not made the same or equally in the league. So more teams go to their zone blocking scheme. And him in a zone blocking scheme with his one cut ability and long speed. I saw Clinton Portis with Shanahan back in Denver, all reincarnated. That knee just happened to ruin the whole thing.
Sure did.
I was waiting for him to get a chance, like to get his chance and show what he can do because he also has dual threat ability catching the ball out the backfield. And like you said, when he was coming out, he made some people forget about Christian, even though I think some of the hate against Christian McCaffrey is that he's the other.
We already know. We already know. That's one of my favorite players in the league. He's one of my top 3 players in the league.
I'm telling you, like, I call him Barry Sanders. That's what I call him. I call him Barry Sanders myself.
Man, that joker is cold.
That kid is fantastic, man.
You know who Christian McCaffrey is to me?
He ain't very cold, but he cold though.
You know who he is to me? Christian McCaffrey is like this generation's version of Marshall Faulk. That's what I see. I see a guy that does everything.
Absolutely.
And he will shake you too.
Yeah. I can see Marshall. I can see Faulk. Marshall Faulk.
That's my favorite player of all time, right
I can see that. But not Barry though. We're not gonna do Barry. We're not.
No. I didn't say he's Barry. I said I call him Barry Sanders. Marshall's my favorite player of all time.
That's a Madden Tecmo Bowl. That's a whole different level of game.
Well, I think this generation's version right now of Barry Sanders. Well, we have to see how he comes back. I would probably say Saquon.
I didn't even say that.
All right, let's not let Mo go off on a tangent. But we're talking running backs because Lake dropped the knowledge on us that Washington's going to go running back second round. I just want to say real quick, I think they're going quarterback. I think they're going Mills from Stanford in the second round. I think he's going to drop there, man. That's what I've been hearing. That's what my people tell me. Quarterback, second round quarterback for Washington.
Yeah, Davis Mills. Davis Mills he's a talent. He just doesn't have a lot of experience. And Ron Rivera just told us last week in our press conference that, he's kind of looking for some guys that are coming in out of college that have experience. Unfortunately, it's not a lot of those guys. I mean, a lot of these guys missed their senior year because of COVID. Some of them sat out. Micah Parsons, since they sat out. I like Mills, but I don't like him here for the simple standpoint. He's a project. And when I say a project, he's got a lot of talent, but whoever takes him isn't taking him to play for 2 years. Washington can't afford that right now. They can't afford to just let somebody sit for 2 years on this roster when you have some serviceable quarterbacks right now. So you need to get somebody that's going to come in, be an impact guy. The guy that I think they're taking at 19 is Jamin Davis. That's who I think they're taking from Kentucky, linebacker. So y'all heard that first. Ridiculous. Listen, man, I like Zaven Collins a lot, but this guy might be more athletic than that. And in this defense, they need speed and they need athleticism at that linebacker spot.
If Zaven
I just want Waddle. I don't care about everybody else. So I'm all right. I just want Waddle. That's all I care about. That's all I want is Waddle.
Waddle's not.
I want to say
Waddle.
Like I couldn't get Judy. I want Waddle. I can't get Judy. I want Waddle.
No, I do. I do. I do. I think three linebackers would fit perfectly here. I think obviously I'm a Penn State dude, so I love Micah Parsons.
Of course,
he's not going to be there at 19. It's just not going to happen. I don't think Collins is going to be there at 19. So to me, you go with Davis because he's going to be the next available best linebacker. But we're talking about a guy 6'3", 235. I'm sorry, say that again.
So you think Koromoa from Notre Dame is gone too? Then
from Notre Dame, yeah, I do. But you know what? I don't consider him as a linebacker though. He's like a Mark Barron type player. He's a guy to me that perfect. I think in the NFL he's a perfect strong safety. That's what I think he's going to end up being wherever he goes. A strong safety that stays in the box.
I think the angle that I was thinking about was I'm looking at Ron's draft history in Carolina. He did the same thing with is it Shaq Thompson, the linebacker out of
Shaq Thompson,
Washington?
Absolutely. Yep.
So when I looked at it, I was like, out of the three linebackers, Koromoa is more like him, and he could play him on that weak side. And he can play him on that weak side, opposite of Chase.
Holcomb or Chase? Oh, Chase, yeah.
On opposite of Chase.
Yeah, but see, right. But this is the thing, though. Think about this, though. You still have Landon Collins under contract, and Landon Collins, is he a safety or is he a linebacker? He's a hybrid player. He's a Mark Barron type. So that's the guy that's going to do that this year for you.
But I think didn't it come out that he was against playing the linebacker role?
Yeah, man, whatever. You can say what you're against, but you're not getting your job back as strong safety. That is locked up. So Cam Curl has that locked up. Yeah. And personally, for me, I don't think Washington really needs to look at a free safety at this point either, because I'm a big Jeremy Reeves fan. Yeah, I think when Reeves and Curl were back there together, man, Reeves anticipates things. So you got that safety now that can see the field, and anticipate some things. And then of course Curl is a hitter that can come up, and his pass coverage got better as the season progressed too, as he was learning the position. I'm telling you, man, they just need that stout sideline to sideline linebacker.
Middle linebacker.
And if they get that, it's showtime. I'm telling you, because you get Ioannidis back, it's going to be. I just said it's going to be hell to pay for some offenses if they can solidify that middle linebacker spot. Naturally, we thought it was going to be Reuben Foster. That's not it. So now you have to find that. If Micah Parsons and these character issues, which I'm sick of hearing, man. I mean, listen, guys. Somebody said I'm taking up for the dude because I'm a Penn Stater. Listen,
character issues, man.
What the issue was is that they hazed the player supposedly. They say they didn't. The players say they did. Other teammates say the player lied. I don't know. I wasn't there. But when you hear something like that, that sounds like 18, 19-year-old type stuff, right? That doesn't sound like a guy that's running from the police, a guy that's getting DUIs, guy that's, domestic. This guy's a father, like a child. So my thing is, people put out there what they want, and don't be surprised if some of that stuff was put out there even more so that he could slip to a team that wants that stuff to come out, so he can slip to them. I tell you what, if he slipped to 19, I guarantee you he'll be on this team. And that defense would be.
So
another Penn State linebacker coming to this area. Another Penn State linebacker coming to this area.
That'd be
another Penn State linebacker coming to this area.
Hey, listen. LeVar's my guy, but this guy is something different. You haven't seen something like this.
What LeVar said?
This is something different, man.
Did you hear what LeVar said the other day?
LeVar knows.
LeVar said that Micah Parsons. LeVar said that Micah Parsons is Ray Lewis and Von Miller having a kid. My goodness.
And what I said was Micah. And what I said was Micah Parsons was a combination. Someone asked me this on their other show 2 weeks ago, and they said, "Who does he remind you of?" And I said, "He's a combo of Ray Lewis and Patrick Willis." That's what I see. Ooh. So now. You're talking about a guy that's a kid. He's only 20 years old. So it's only going to get better and better, but you can't teach speed. And this guy was Pennsylvania first team player of the year on offense as a running back too. So he sees some things a little differently from that middle linebacker spot. He has anticipation with what offensive players can do because he was a great offensive player as well. So I'm just saying, man, if this team can get that to fill a hole, what behind that line, it's gonna get ugly.
That's what I'm hearing. Linebacker in first round, or offensive lineman possibly, and quarterback second round is what I'm hearing.
Hey, Ray, just tell them where you heard that first 6 weeks ago. That it was gonna be. Just tell them where you heard that first. Linebacker.
Oh, this dude here is trash.
Corner. Yeah, I said.
Nobody argued about a linebacker, dude. It was
no. Hold on, give him give his flowers, and not just the shirt he's wearing. Go ahead, because he needs it. You need that. You know what I'm saying? Let him have it. He got it.
I know what,
Mo, you told me.
All right.
Thank you, Mo. Here's your flowers, brother. I appreciate you. What we do with our own insider, Mohammed Karoma.
Hey, Nick, I was also thinking, right? I was also thinking about the character issues that they were talking about with him. If that is the character issue you're talking about, that's dead upon arrival in a pro locker room, because now he is the smallest fish in the big pond. He can't haze nobody.
And that's what I'm saying, man. It's so the other thing that makes this even more interesting is, and again, I'm not defending if it happened, because if it happened, there's poor judgment. But the other player that was involved was Gross Matos, Yatura Gross Matos, who was a first round draft pick this past season. And but because he doesn't have that, even though he was a first round draft pick, don't get me wrong, he doesn't have that pedigree. I mean, Micah Parsons was a phenom in high school. He committed to Penn State as a sophomore in high school. And was a Penn Player of the Year 2 years in a row. So he has this name that's been building, goes to Penn State, Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Second year, first team All-America on defense, won the Buckus Award as a sophomore. I mean, he's got this thing building, So naturally, you hear that story come out, and it just happened to come out that season, that it happened over the summer or whatever. And the irony of it is that the kid that said it happened to him, I went to Penn State with his dad. His dad played football at Penn State as well. So it was a messy situation, and there's a lawsuit out against Parsons, against James Franklin, against the school, and everybody's denied it. Everyone said that's not the situation. This was a kid that basically guys was teasing because he wasn't holding his own in practices and things like that. So they was kind of punking him a little bit. That's basically what it comes down to.
I have something to say about that, but people, I can't be PC. I'm not going to do it.
No. I mean, listen. Different times, different time frames. Different strokes for different folks.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I was so
let's let the issue resolve itself. Because
absolutely,
we were not there. I try to refrain from giving opinions on sensitive matters such as that. And
that's why I said I wasn't there. Yeah, I wasn't there. But if that is the actual situation, listen, man, that's called poor judgment. That's not a character issue to me that translates to make you carry that bag your whole life. That's not. That's harsh, man. That's real harsh. So, again, there's going to be some teams that may look at that. And if he falls and he happens to fall here, and you have Montez Sweat on one side, Chase Young on another side, and this guy in the middle,
Trouble.
Hang it up. And with a chip on his shoulder. Hang it up.
Hey, Lake, man, appreciate you being on, man. I love it, man. But you let our listeners know what you have coming down the pike and how they can catch you on social media.
You can check me out on social media, on Twitter at Lake Lewis, on Instagram, Facebook, Lake Lewis Jr. Of course, you can check us out on sportsjourney.com. And then I have my podcast. I've been chilling a little bit, but it's there. After practice podcast. So, as always, fellas, appreciate coming on, man. You can do this all night with you guys. So yeah,
all night,
fun.
Bro. All night, man. Hey, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to our podcast too on iTunes and Google Podcasts. Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Search All Burgundy and Gold Errrything with Urban Sports Team. Also tweet us at Urban Sports Team and hit us up on our Urban Sports Team Facebook page. Appreciate Nick for being on. Appreciate the homies all day, every day. You've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold Errrything with the Urban Sports Team on Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia, 4 ages. You dig? Deuces. Hey, Mega, lead us out, big homie.
Peace.